Welcome to Awas on Wire. Today, we're talking about Mukhriz Mahathir's criticism of Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's interaction with U.S. President Trump.
Right, and this situation, it's really blown up, hasn't it? It feels like a textbook case of, well, political expectations meeting a very different reality.
Exactly. The core of the issue, the controversy, is this apparent gap between what Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said beforehand and what Mukhriz Mahathir claims happened when President Trump actually arrived.
Yeah, because the buildup was all about Anwar being firm, maybe even, confrontational.
Yeah.
Especially on the Palestine issue, which is incredibly sensitive here.
That was the expectation set, certainly. Anwar did promise to raise the issue firmly.
But then Mukhriz points to the airport scene, the welcome. He sees it as cordial, friendly even, and he's asking quite pointedly, how can you talk about being firm and then seem to be, well, his words, dancing with Trump?
And that raises immediate questions about our foreign policy signaling. It's not just about protocol or politeness. Mukhriz is challenging Prime Minister's sincerity, essentially. He's really pushing that angle.
He is. It forces us to look at this classic dilemma in international relations, what some call the two-level game. Anwar had, arguably, two different groups to think about.
Okay, break that down.
Well, domestically, there are millions of Malaysians, strong supporters of the Palestinian cause, who expected absolute resolve, no compromise.
Right.
But internationally, he's dealing with the U.S. president, a crucial global partner. You need a functional relationship, a productive visit. Mukhriz's argument is basically that Anwar chose diplomacy over that promised domestic firmness.
Which leads straight to Mukhriz's big question, the really skeptical one. Was all that tough talk beforehand just a tactic?
That's the implication he's raising.
Like, was it just to calm down the local Palestine supporters, keep things smooth, so Trump's visit could happen without any major protests or, bad press?
If people start believing that, it really damages trust, doesn't it? Trust in the government's foreign policy stance. And Mukhriz was quite blunt about why he felt Anwar didn't need to be so accommodating.
What was his reasoning there?
His assessment of President Trump. Mukhriz made it clear he views Trump as, let's say, untrustworthy based on past actions. So, in his view, there was absolutely no need for Anwar to be overly accommodating.
He used that specific phrase, overly accommodating.
Yes, and also that Anwar didn't need to give face to someone like Trump.
Okay, let's pause on that give face. That's a phrase with a lot of weight here, isn't it? It's not just about being polite.
Not at all. In this context, when Mukhriz accuses the prime minister of choosing to give face, it's a serious charge. He's suggesting Anwar might have lowered his own standing, maybe even the nation's dignity, just for diplomatic convenience.
So it implies showing respect where Mukhriz feels none was deserved, potentially weakening our position.
Precisely. In diplomacy across much of Asia, face is critical. Saving face, giving face. If a leader is seen giving face to someone perceived as unreliable, especially when firmness was expected, it can look like weakness, or like a lack of respect for the principle everyone cares about.
And Mukhriz uses that cultural understanding to really drive his point home that Anwar's cordiality was a big mistake.
A strategic error in his framing, a failure to live up to the image of conviction he'd cultivated.
And the visual Mukhriz seized on, the so-called Trump dance, that really crystallized his critique, didn't it? It provided a very public image for his claim of weakness.
Absolutely. He directly linked that image to the promise of firm criticism. He actually said something like, if Anwar is together dancing at the airport, I can't see how he would face Trump firmly.
Wow, that's direct.
It's politically very effective. That kind of visual metaphor often sticks in people's minds, much more than, say, a detailed policy argument about trade figures or security protocols.
It creates an instant question. How can you be friendly dancing with someone you're meant to be strongly challenging?
Exactly. Bypasses all the complexity and hits on an emotional visual level. Mukhriz is very skilled at using that kind of political imagery.
And it wasn't just the airport scene. Mukhriz went broader, didn't he? He gave a pretty harsh assessment of President Trump's character overall.
He did. He argued quite strongly that Trump shouldn't be seen as a reliable friend or ally to Malaysia.
Why not? What was the reasoning?
Mukhriz painted him as fundamentally contradictory. Someone willing to sell out for profit was the phrase used, whenever it's convenient.
Okay, so if that's your starting point, that the other leader is basically untrustworthy and transactional,
then Mukhriz argues any apparent warmth or accommodation from our side is a mistake. It looks like weakness, a loss of leverage. He's calling for a foreign policy based purely on national interest and principle without the personal niceties.
And he backed this up with a specific example, didn't he? Something about Gaza.
Yes, to show Trump's alleged inconsistency. It wasn't just a general feeling of distrust. He pointed to the situation in Gaza.
What specifically?
Mukhriz highlighted how President Trump talks about pushing for Gaza peace, which sounds positive, right? Committed to ending conflict. But then, Mukhriz claims the reality completely contradicts that. He pointed out that even during supposed ceasefires or periods of calm, people were still being killed.
That's a stark contrast.
And that's crucial for Mukhriz's point. He's saying, look, when a leader says peace, but violence continues, you can't trust their words. It suggests the talk is just for show, for political points.
So the implication for Anwar is, if Trump is unreliable, giving him that warm welcome, the dance, almost legitimizes him. It makes Malaysia look like we're okay with these contradictions.
That's the argument Mukhriz is building. That Anwar should have kept a clear distance, maintained a critical stance throughout the entire visit, rather than offering that visual of warmth.
We also need to talk about where Mukhriz said all this. It wasn't just a press statement.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
The location is hugely significant. He was speaking at the anti-Trump peaceful rally.
Right, at Dataran Merdeka, Independence Square.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Independence Square. That place has immense symbolic weight in Malaysia. It's a traditional site for public gatherings, for expressing national sentiment, sometimes dissent.
So speaking there transforms his words from just, political rivalry
Into something much bigger.
Mm.
It positions his critique as representing a segment of public opinion, particularly linking it to the strong feelings about Palestine. It gives his challenge against the Prime Minister a lot more gravity.
Using the historical significance of Dataran Merdeka really amplifies the message. It makes it resonate beyond just the political insiders.
Definitely. It turns what could be seen as a foreign policy debate into a domestic issue about the government's core principles and whether it's living up to them.
Which brings us back to that tightrope Anwar is walking.
It really does. Mukhriz seems to be betting that the strong local feelings about Palestine are more politically important than maintaining smooth relations with a superpower like the U.S.
So for you listening, it raises a question, doesn't it? Was Mukhriz right to publicly challenge the Prime Minister like this? Was it a necessary stand on principle?
Or was it perhaps a risky political move that could actually hurt Malaysia's diplomatic standing on the world stage? It's a tough balance.
It certainly shows the intense pressure any leader faces trying to navigate global politics while answering to a very passionate public at home.
Mm-hmm. And the immediate effect of this kind of open challenge is fascinating for our local politics. When someone high-profile criticizes the Prime Minister's diplomacy so publicly right after a major event,
It shows cracks.
it signals visible disagreements, fissures within the political establishment. This level of public doubt means the government constantly have to explain and justify its foreign policy moves, not just other countries, but crucially back home.
Which could make it harder for the PM to act decisively on the world stage, knowing every step is being intensely watched and questioned here.
Precisely. Every diplomatic action gets filtered through this lens of consistency and sincerity. It definitely complicates things.
Well, hopefully this discussion has shed some light on the different currents swirling around this whole controversy.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.